Hello, this is Colerain Township.
Hello, and welcome to Colerain Communicator. I'm Jason Grisgoric. Well, 2015 brings brand new things to Colerain Township. With Chief Smith leaving us from the fire department, we're left with a vacancy. With that brings us our new fire chief, Frank Cook. Frank, glad that you could join us.
Thank you.
Frank, we're looking at a lot of things in the brand new year, and here January 1 comes, the vacancy opens, you take Chief Smith's place. How do you feel about something like that, especially from such humble beginnings?
Well, I feel a great sense of accomplishment. It's been seems like a lifelong journey for me. Early in my childhood, I knew that the fire service is the direction that I wanted to pursue. It's sort of like one of those storybook.
I was going to say, it sounds very, very much so a storybook.
For me, it is. You know, it actually began with a visit to I grew up in the city of Cincinnati.
Okay.
It began with a visit to a firehouse within the city of Cincinnati, and it just seems like from the moment that I stepped in and started interacting with a gentleman by the name of Lieutenant John Sucher, who's actually probably the one person that got me started, I knew from that point that that was for me.
To remember someone's name that has been so influential, that sets a milestone, and it's a great honor to that individual.
Yeah. So it actually presented opportunities for me. Through scouting, I entered the Explorer program, which was sponsored by the city of Cincinnati,
Sure.
which provided me as a young person opportunities to have insight to the occupation of the fire service. Certainly, prior to that, I went to the library, read books and things like that on what it took to become a firefighter, but the Exploring program, like I said, provided me actual hands-on insight to the profession of firefighting. And through the Exploring program, we were able to spend time in the firehouses around firefighters and doing some of the things that they do day in and day out. So, like I said, from that point forward, I knew that's the occupation that I wanted to pursue, and that's what I did. So all through my high school years and even through junior high school and things like that, I focused, besides my
Your
schools,
academics,
I spent time trying to learn and prepare myself for what it would take to become a firefighter.
It truly sounds like fire is in your blood.
It is. It is. And we're talking, since I was probably the age of 12, 13 years old is when this, really all come about. And
Pardon the pun, where the spark began.
Exactly. So, like I said, it's been a lifelong journey, it seems like.
Sure.
And I've been afforded many, many opportunities and tried to take advantage of every opportunity that came along. I had the opportunity in 1984 to join Colerain Township in a program where they were transitioning from volunteer to part-time staffing within the firehouse. And
what was that draw to come to Colerain? I mean, obviously you had many options to go to, but you chose Colerain.
Well, I was attending the University of Cincinnati at the time, taking some classes, and Deputy Chief Salvati, I think, was in one of the classes. Chief Smith may have been in one of the classes at the time, along with a few other people. And through conversation, they were told me that they were transitioning from volunteer to staff the fire stations part-time, and they were looking for people. So I was actually in the second group of people, or the second class of recruits of the part-time people. So I was trained within Colerain Township and started my career there in Colerain Township, and here I am.
And it sounds, again, like one of those storybook things where you started in the place that you began, and here you are today at that highest echelon that you can achieve. You're saying things started so early for you, and that you really wanted to be a part of the fire service. Do you feel did you see Chief ever being that end goal, that was going to be obtainable, or was it something that it just was lucky that X, Y, and Z people were able to receive it?
Well, initially, my goal was to just get into fire service and start working. I started off, as I said, part-time with Colerain. I was next or eventually hired by the village of Evendale full-time, but I maintained my part-time status with Colerain. And then opportunity come along in which I was hired at Colerain in a full-time capacity. And so, that was towards the late 1980s, I guess that was. But in my earlier years of employment, I sought out training, education opportunities, and at that point in time, I saw, I guess, what it takes to promote, to elevate to higher levels within the fire department. So I started pursuing those opportunities, and I took a test when I left the Evendale Fire Department. I was actually second on the list to be promoted to lieutenant with just 2 years of service.
Wow.
At Evendale.
That is amazing.
So I come on to Colerain Township and become a lieutenant, eventually promoted to captain, eventually promoted to battalion chief, and then assistant chief, and now a chief officer. But during each one of those steps, like I said, I took advantage of educational and training opportunities, that including the pursuit of academic degrees. I have an associate's degree from Sinclair College up in Dayton, Ohio. I have a fire and safety engineering technology bachelor's degree from the University of Cincinnati, and a master's degree in public administration from Northern Kentucky University. I've also completed the National Fire Academy's Executive Development, Executive Fire Officers Program, which is a 4-year program in Emmitsburg, Maryland. Also completed the Carl Holmes Executive Development Institute down at Dillard University in New Orleans, Louisiana. So,
not only is fire in your blood, but academics is as well.
And I'm a big believer in academics, higher education. It's expected of today's fire officers to be more educated.
Sure.
Gone are the days where you just stand outside and squirt water through windows or squirt hoses. We're expected to, or hazmat technicians, so we have to know chemistry to an extent. The paramedics, they're responsible for the administration of medicines and interpreting cardiac rhythms and things like that. So, they're the doctor's eyes and ears,
right.
In the field, and doctors and people that work in the medical field, they have obviously extensive college background, and the paramedics are just an extension of those. So, and then the reports that we're required to do and produce, analyze data and things like that, you have to be able to produce that stuff, interpret it, and be able to report effectively on it. So, like I said, I'm a big believer in the academics and education, and I really stress that when I have an opportunity to, when I mentor people and things like that.
So I'm going to assume that that's going to be one of the things that shine through a little bit more as your tenure begins. That because as we've talked in many programs, be it Communicator or Talking With, that's been one of the things that we've heard, is that it is important to continue the education process because things do change. The fire department is no exception.
Right.
We've seen many changes from just the basic EMT, as you're saying, to today's fire individual who has to take the truck out, and there's more to that now. As your tenure goes, do you believe that you're going to be telling those underneath you, continue your education, go forward? Or are you already seeing that with most of them?
We're beginning to see it. Part of my vision is professional development. I am a big believer and supporter of professional development, and really in the process right now of developing a professional development plan for the department so that we can produce internally future leaders for the fire department. So we're seeing that now. We have quite a few of our employees that are taking advantage of opportunities to educate themselves and be more better, not just firefighters, but fire officers and fire administrators.
We've touched a little bit on, because of the things that you've gone through personally, obviously there's a difference in the fire department when you first got your bite of the bug to today. What would you say are the strongest changes from then to now, especially with you being the chief? You're able to see a lot more and be able to, I would say, maybe control a little bit more of where the township's going in course of fire. But what do you see as what was to what is today?
Well, I think today, Colerain, like most fire departments in general, if you will, are driven by changes in society. Okay, I believe that there are new expectations by those that we serve, not only internally but primarily external to the fire department. There's a call or greater accountability for the use of public resources. Not that there wasn't in the past, but obviously times have changed. Improvement of the overall efficiency of programs and the services that we provide. And then there's an increase for diversity, both in the employment of the department and also the services. Our services are expanding. The community's changing demographically, and I think we can provide better services and more effectively if we have a workforce that is reflective of the community. Certainly, over the course of my years, I've run into scenarios where where there may be a language barrier or misunderstanding and beliefs or something like that. And like I said, I think if we have the diversity there, that would certainly help those scenarios along.
Sure. Obviously, you're coming up from one great individual to become your own great individual, leaving your mark. What do you think was the thing that Bruce left onto you and bestowed upon to you, and then what would you like to leave upon your constituents now?
Well, Bruce has been a great supporter. He's inspired me. He's been just a great leader overall, not only to me but to the fire service in general.
Sure.
And we're not just talking about Colerain Township. Bruce Smith has been a leader regionally, statewide, and even nationally. Colerain Township has benefited from some very good times, and we've had some rough times. 2008 we lost 2 firefighters.
Yeah.
But under his leadership, we've evolved, and we're a much better fire department today because of his leadership. Looking at that particular event, we still today in 2015 go out to fire departments and events and speak as to our experience to that event, and that's on a national scale. We get inquiries. We even had a fire chief from Loveland, Colorado fly here to Colerain to talk to us about our experiences with that particular event. But, I just hope that I'm able to leave that same legacy, as Chief Smith, from a leadership perspective, has left on us.
Sure. Not to bring up the subject, but since you had the event in 2008, you're saying that it's still leaving that indelible mark. Being able to speak about it still and to still learn from it. Not only are you as a department learning from it still, but you're saying nationally. How do you take a tragedy like that and turn it into something as positive as a learning experience as such?
Well, I think, looking back at the event and then the investigations that subsequently took place, we identified that, or said from the beginning, if you will, that we were going to be transparent and we were going to tell the story, and that's what we did. We, as a department, produced a 500-page document that reported on what we found to be the negatives of the event, but also the positives of the event. And quite frankly, if it saved one life, then it was all worth the effort.
Sure.
We looked at several different items from an operational standpoint, and like I said, there was I forget how many items that were within the document, but we received feedback, like I said, nationally from fire departments all across the United States, commenting on the comprehensiveness and our ability to report our findings. You know, in some cases, there were reports that we received back that, you know, because of your report, you know, our firefighters recognized the dangers of a certain situation, and what we reported there. Unfortunately, you know, we still see events that either result in injuries or death. You know, whether or not they read the report, I don't know. But again, it's changed the standards
Sure.
for a lot of fire departments that actually, you know, read and took the information from the report and were able to apply it to their procedures and practices.
Well, you know, we don't want to dwell on something, but at
Yeah.
least it is something that has spurred some good out of it, that has made things going. Now, of course, you're taking on some big shoes,
Mm-hmm.
and I know about taking on big shoes and going forward. Obviously, you want to take it and make it your own.
Mm-hmm.
How do you go about, and what is your vision for the new? Because this really is a new era, so to speak. Because, you know, now that you're taking the reins, it's your department now. How do you look at it, and how would you like to take the fire department forward?
Well, my vision in the future for Colerain Fire Department, and I guess I'd like to be viewed by the community. I don't have one vision. Actually, I have several, what I call vision statements.
Sure, I think that's fair.
You know, I'd like to be viewed by the community as an agency that maintains and builds upon collaborative relationships.
Okay.
And you know, those relationships are not only internal to the fire department, but external to the fire department, other public safety agencies, community groups, you know, private sector groups, and in a lot of ways we're doing that now. Right now we're working with the law enforcement agency, Colerain Police Department, the Public Health Department. Whenever we identify a household or family that may not be living in healthy conditions or something like that, we're working collaboratively with those other agencies to make sure that these people get the help that they need and the resources that they need to for a better, you know, healthy lifestyle, I guess, if you will. So that's one of the ways that that we're collaboratively working, you know, through better communications, again, internally and external to the department, so that you know, our performance measurements are known by the stakeholders or the people that need to know how we're doing. Another vision statement I have is to be an agency that provides a seamless increase in service levels, but try to, you know, maintain a decreased cost.
Well, I was just going to say, it's the proverbial doing more with less.
Yes.
But how does one do that, especially when lives are at stake?
Well, there's many opportunities that we, you know, look at shared services, things along those lines. You know, just being, making sure that we're researching methods and how we spend our monies and things of those sorts. Also, I like to be viewed as an agency that's reflective of the community we serve. You know, I talked a little bit about diversity, but we want the community to be able to benefit from a well-trained, respectful, and professional workforce with many backgrounds and skill sets. Also, an agency that provides a high-quality, all-risk response capability. And also the services that sets us apart from other fire agencies within the region. You know, fire departments use the term all-risk agency. Mm-hmm. And when we talk about all-risk, you know, obviously besides fire protection and emergency medical services, we also do technical rescue services, public education, code enforcement, plans reviews. But one of the programs I talked to you about there just before is some of the other things that we're doing as far as the public health.
Yes.
We also have a program that we just initially joined forces with the police department, some other private sector and other public sector agencies, is that we've identified that there's a problem within the community with the heroin. Mm-hmm. So we're working collaboratively with these other agencies to try to address those those people within society that have the substance abuse problem, and trying to get them the help and the resources that they need to try to get their lives on track.
And it's interesting that you're taking on that aspect of it, because most people would think, well, that's a police issue. But I think the interesting thing, and I'm sure you're going to say this, is the way that Colerain works is that you're a joint venture.
Absolutely. But that, and the fact that as a fire department we're trying to look out for the best interests of the community. 70% of the work that we do, or 70% of the emergency response activity, is related to emergency medicine. As far as the future holds for the fire service, we're, for the most part, fighting less fires, but more active in the emergency medical arena, if you will. I'm sure you've heard the term community paramedicine, where we're taking a more proactive stance in trying to assist the individuals within the community with their healthcare needs.
Sure.
So that's the direction in which we're going. Obviously, we'll still provide the fire protection, but the majority of our work is in emergency medicine. And like I said, being an all-risk agency, public education, which not only includes fire, but also medical, whether it's the older population, whether they need some type of intervention, the younger, babies, we do car seat inspections. So, we run a gamut, whether it's water safety, home inspections. We're all risks agency, and the goal is here to reduce the risk within the community on a broad spectrum, if you will.
How does one bring about that change to the community to see you in that light of as an all risk, as opposed to many people who still have it in their mind, fire department only fights a fire?
Well, obviously it's through marketing, how we market ourselves, through being engaged in the community, involved in the community, being part of special events, festivals, things like that, through the distribution of literature. Obviously, opportunities such as this
Absolutely.
gets the message out as well. So, and just through our daily work and media opportunities, we try to get that message out there. And again, like I said, that improved communication and marketability, to the community.
Of course, brand new year, you're just getting your feet wet in this, but you kind of know what you want. First steps in taking this role, how does one kind of put those big boy pants on and say, this is who I am, as compared to who you were, say, December of 2014 to January of 2015?
Well, fortunately for me, the majority of my years in the fire service have been in a managerial or leadership role. Through my outside contacts and with working with Chief Smith and Chief Salvati, I felt that I was pretty prepared
Sure.
to step into this position. I'd lie to you if I told you that I wasn't nervous about it, but the first 2 weeks here have been, they've been busy.
Sure.
But on the other hand, I'm pretty comfortable in the role. If I look back into when I was promoted to assistant chief, the very first day on the job, we had the oil spill down on East Miami River Road, in which I had the responsibility from a fire department's operation standpoint, and in coordinating the efforts with the other agencies.
Well, thankfully, we haven't had to deal with anything large so far.
Yeah.
Well, we are running low to the bottom of our hour here, but so I want to be able to give you the opportunity to kind of gaze into that crystal ball. Let's look to the end where you're going to your retirement. We're talking many, many years, I'm sure. Mm-hmm. What is the one thing, if someone were to say, Frank Cook was this type of chief, what do you want them to fill that blank in?
Well, and I use the same thing, like it's been over the course of my career, or at least when I'm serving in leadership capacities, is that I've been a fair and consistent leader.
Well, from what I've read and from what I know, you're a well-informed individual, and learning how educated you are, I think our fire department is going to be in a very, very safe hands.
Well, thank you very much.
Well, like I said, we're down to the bottom of the hour, and I know this isn't our last conversation. We will have you back here at the roundtable on Communicator in no time.
I look forward to it.
Great. Thank you. And I want to thank all of you for joining us as well. Remember, Colerain Township is just a phone call away here on Colerain Communicator. Have a great evening.